Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I am Mario here once again. It's me, Mario, and I'm from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Kirby Mouse Attack, aka Kirby Squeed Squad for North America, for the Nintendo DS. So, last time we actually finally completely done with the forms of Gumball Galaxy and able to actually beat the likes of not only Dark Darude, but also by the forms of Dark Nimpula, while simply just able to annihilate him by the forms of the triple star ability. And today for this episode, folks, is the extra video of this game actually offers to be, but even then, much like how it does it in any other Kirby games, once again we're going to be showing you guys some extra stuff of how this game offers, like the forms of quite a number of things. First of all, you got ourselves the 100% completion image, where it's usually how the fact that we got ourselves Kirby got bright and joy and all that stuff, so even then though that you should be happy as well as you used to be. So even then though, before we get started, by the forms of showing you guys some sub-games and the extra mode, including some additional 2 Kirby abilities when I haven't shown you guys about this. Much like how it does in the previous games, you're able to actually beat the game once until you're able to actually unlock the boss endurance mode, which even though it does very similar to how it does it from before. However though, let's showcase off the collection room first before you're able to get started by the forms of the sub-games. Now, there are a grand total of 120 items in total, so let me just shift over the different screen perspectives right there, because you can definitely tell why when we get into the sub-games as far as you're more aware. So, as you expected, we got ourselves quite a number of things with the forms of collection room. Like, we've got ourselves, as we expected, that we got Star Seals, which even then, Star Seals, as I've mentioned this before, it's mandatory in order to actually finish the main game, because, you know, you need, in order to actually get to World 7 and 8, you must be sure to able to actually collect all 5 of those Star Seals before you reach to World 7, because even then, again, if you're missing out one, then you have to backtrack for it and able to actually find another one of those Star Seals. So, and also we got ourselves these Hearts Ventilities, which even then though there are 8 pieces in total, and also we've got ourselves the Secret Keys, which there are 7 of them in total. Copy ability scrolls, there are a grand total of 23 of them, which if I'm missing counting on that, then I might as well be wrong about this, but even then though, yeah, it's definitely 23. And also we can actually change those different copy palettes, which I haven't really done that on screen in the forms of the actual Let's Play, because all it gets in here is basically you get yourselves different patterns of Kirby stomachs. Even then we got ourselves the actual stars, different checkerboards, panther, leopard skins, and also by the forms of the gear, and also pretty much everything else for that really, which I think is kind of cool looking, but I rarely use that to be honest. And also the returning in the forms of the copies, no, not copy, the Kirby spray paints, which just like in the forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, you can just simply change your different colored Kirbys by the forms of white and all the other colors and stuff like that for that nature. But even then, as far as I've mentioned this before, you can now actually change your colors anytime, anywhere though, in the forms of the actual main adventure, rather than just completely turn off the main game and turn it back on again before you're able to actually keep on changing your different color variations of Kirby. So, anyways though, we got ourselves these jigsaw puzzle pieces. There are 4 images in total, which even then though, those images carry up to 19 pieces each. So even then though, you can actually see the entire artwork of the forms of the Kirby's past, including the likes of Kirby Mouse Attack's artwork. So even then though, yeah. And also the boss battle badges as well, which even then though there are 8 of them in total, which even then will guarantee by that. And also we come across into the forms of the ghost medal really right there, which you know, as far as you might as well think about anyway. So, and also we got ourselves, as we expected from any other Kirby games, we got ourselves a sound test, which even though, just like before, you can listen to your favorite background music and all that stuff. So even though, in addition to sound effects as well. So even though something is worth mentioning for this throughout. So, anyways though, enough about the collection room, so there's not much else we can able to talk through at this point when it comes to the actual collection room. Just for the actual purpose of the forms of you can actually 100% through everything with the forms of, oh yeah, and finally we got ourselves the shortcake, so yeah, that's all you get, but the forms of the actual last collection items. Even then, just for the actual collector's sake, so even then, you can definitely guarantee by that. So, anyways, that's the collection room out of the way, and now let's go ahead and jump into the sub-games, which, just like before, there are 3 of them in total, the addition to 1 extra mode with the forms of boss endurance mode, which again I will get to that in a moment temporarily. So here we have these 3 sub-games. We have Speedy, Teatime, Smash Ride, and Treasure Shot. See, Fernando, these minigames can get a little bit more different because it usually utilizes the touchscreen controls rather than just buttons themselves, because even then, this game was originally going to be on a Nintendo DS game, so even then, this game it utilized the touchscreen controls, mainly for the sub-games most likely. So, as usual, we're going to be going those in a chronological order. So even then, we'll get started by the forms of the Speedy Teatime, which, as far as I'm aware, this minigame feels a bit similar to the likes of Speed Eaters, but in forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, but the addition to actually having touchscreen controls. So once again, you can also play this on multiplayer by either the Viavu yourselves a local play and all that. So Speedy Teatime eats lots of cakes, but you know, watch out for bombs and touch the cake icon. So, yeah, it's basically you can able to actually just guarantee whoever gets the most cakes at the end wins. So, again, it's basically slightly similar to the ones in Speed Eaters from the likes of, you know, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, except you have to deal with touchscreen controls instead of, like, just one regular button press by simply pressing the A button. So, and I've mentioned this before, how the fact of the matter is, though, is that you can also play this game on your multiplayer, but in forms of one game card, or just simply just able to play this locally. So even then, though, you can able to actually play with your friends and all that stuff, but even then, though, yeah, that's what I can really say about this for the most part, though. So, yeah, aside from that, though, I do really enjoy it, but in forms of, the actual game of this so far, even then though, that, well, we'll come towards the forms of, the minigames themselves, which, by the way, out of all the minigames we're going to be running to, in fact, I did actually recently won that, so yeah, that's pretty cool, and I'll try my best to able to actually win, 3 different difficulty levels, which even then, oh man, these can get pretty hectic right there, especially noticeable how the fact that, well, you notice in some of these sub-games, they usually come across into the forms of some of these squeak squads here and there. Oh, that's kind of pointless. Why did you actually summon a bomb as soon as when Stero managed to able to get stunned by the bomb? That's pretty unfair, mind you. So, yeah, it gets a little bit difficult, much like in how it does it in most of these sub-games in the forms of Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, and especially noticeable with Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. So even then, though, they can guarantee by the fact that most of these computer points are going to get really, really tough. Mainly the forms of the fact that I did not able to actually tap those cakes well enough. But even then, that's just aside from that, though. Yeah, I did instantly lose that because for some reason my touchscreen controls doesn't seem to calibrate with me very well. But even then, no, we'll try level 3. I'm pretty sure level 3 is going to be a crapshoot because, yeah, he pretty much know what he's doing. Because even then, though, that, okay, I'll definitely take it. Alright, so, oh, definitely get a bigger piece for me. Okay. Oh, he got them all. That's pretty unfair. Hi. So you can definitely guarantee by the fact that it's kind of like Speed Eaters, except the fact that you need to use the touchscreen controls more often than the likes of the button presses. So, anyways, though, that does it for that minigame, and now let's move on to Smash Ride. So, Smash Ride is somewhat a little bit interesting to say the least, but even then, though, that yeah, ram your rivals and well, you know, just trying to able to smash your opponents. So even then, oh yeah, that's what I can really think about it. So I do apologize for the actual reading errors and all that stuff because it's in a different recording setup. So slide your warp star in the direction you want to fly, and then hold the star. I keep on saying Star Wars because I keep on thinking of you know, Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland for some reason. But anyway. As you expected, this minigame will utilize the touchscreen controls, so even then note that of all the minigames you're going to be running into in this game, this one is actually one of my least favorite minigames, because even then, you know how the fact that, in fact, the entire, portion of this minigame is that if you remember playing through, Kirby Air Ride for the Nintendo GameCube, which, by the way, that game is going to be much more expensive nowadays, because it's over about 100 quid, and I was like, am I really going to pay for that? well, I might be curious able to try that game out, because as far as I'm aware, that game is a little bit interesting when it comes to the racing games in general, even when it forms of the Kirby games like this, which even then I might be curious able to try that game out. But unfortunately though, it's the fact that that game is now going to be super expensive. Way more expensive than the likes of, well, let's just say Mario Party 7, and also by the forms of any other GameCube games out there, like the forms of, Fire Emblem, Path of Radiance, and all that stuff. But even then, you can guarantee by that. So, anyways, though, so the entire portion of this this particular sub game, as far as you're aware, is the fact that you need to able to earn certain amount of points before you're able to actually just somewhat knock out these mini squid enemies and stuff like that for that nature. Whoever able gets the most points in the end wins. So even then, though, yeah. So yeah, speaking of sub-games, you can actually come across into the forms of these familiar Squid Squad enemies ever since you're doing your main adventure, which we have ourselves Stero, by the forms of the Speedy Teatime, and also we come across into Speedy in the forms of the Smash Ride, and finally Dark from the forms of, Treasure Shard, which we'll get to that sooner or later, because even then, the only exception being today is the forms of Darude, because he usually takes part in the forms of the boss battle space, or in this case the boss endurance mode. Hey, would you look at that, I've got myself 1 point victory from Spinny, so how about that then, huh? So anyways, now let's try level 3. I'm pretty sure level 3 is going to be impossible though, because, you know, not to mention what the computer opponents can get really stingy right there, especially noticeable how the fact that, these opponents will easily knock you over. Like, for instance, I keep on getting out of bounds so easily like this. And plus, you know the controls, I mentioned this before, how the fact of the matter is, it takes a really long time to get used to. But apart from that, though, that it still is one of my least favorite minigames in this set. Although, it's pretty decent, though, at best, because even then, though, this concept is somewhat similar to how it does in Kirby Air Ride, because you can just simply able to, you know, hold the warp star to able to actually charge up to your attack. It's kind of like that, but except the fact that it's all touchscreen based instead of just like button based, which even then though, that if I get a chance to able to play Kirby Air Rides at Sunday, then I can get myself some better experience with control schemes in mind. So even then though, that yeah. In fact, I just lost by 6 points. Oh well. I tried for my own best for the sake of beans, but even then though, yeah. Now let's move on to the third and the final sub-game in this lineup is the forms of treasure shots. So, try to hit these fruits, or try to hit the items. So, slide to shoot, and then, well, whoever gets the most points at the end wins. So, you know, same thing, we got to flick the actual stylus before you're able to obtain some more food and what have you. So, however, what makes this a little bit more difficult compared to how it does in the forms of any other sub-games is the fact that you need to be right on with that specific sliding stylus controls, because if you do not get well enough with the forms of the actual stylus control minigames to be like this, then chances are you might accidentally just pick up the bombs themselves, which by the way, much like how it does it in the forms of Speedy Teatime, you'll get stunned temporarily if you manage to accidentally touch the bomb. So, yeah, I managed to claim myself my victory in level 1, and now let's try level 2. Oh, jeez. In fact, out of all the minigames that I'm actually going to be discussing for this point, Treasure Shot is actually, honestly, I will admit, this is actually one of my favorite ones, because, not only because it feels a little bit more chaotic, but it's also because of how the fact that it's very easy to able to control with this thing. Unlike any forms of how it does it in the Smash Ride. And, well, I do appreciate it to able to make the Speed Eaters type of game makes a return, but it's just how the fact that it just feels a little bit more mixed, which even then, though, that might be some conception. So, anyways, though, let's see how much points I've got. Oh, not bad. 10 points above from Ducks. Okay, then. Now it's proved upon level 3. Oh, jeez. Level 3 is going to be interesting. Because, you know, that most of these Squid Squad's members, mainly in the forms of, you know, Stero, and also by the forms of Spinny, and also by the forms of Dark himself, then, you know, they're going to be really unbelievably, way too good at it. So even then, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing, but it's just how the fact of the matter is, though, it depends on what treasures they actually opened up. Sometimes they're able to actually get ourselves a little bit more randomized when it comes to items themselves, either food or just treasures in general. Oh, please don't tell me I actually lost by 1 point. Son of a... Hey, why do I always lose by one singular point? Jeez, what is this, like, one coin from Mario Party 5 from Slim Kirby? Jeez. But anyways, that's the other sub-games. They're pretty alright. I mean, they're decent at best. But I will say is that in comparison to how it does it in Nightmare in Dreamland and The Amazing Mirror, well, that's where things get pretty tricky for the most part. But even then, I will say though is that it feels a little bit decent lineup. Like, I will say though, still my favorites will have to be Treasure Shot and pretty mixed up on Speedy Teatime. But the worst one of the bunch for me though is Smash Ride, because I can never get used to with controls that right. But even then though, aside from that though, that's all I can really say about this. Next mode we're going to be hit into is Boss Endurance, which just like before, you face off against with these bosses again, but this time around though, rather than just actually putting up as randomized, unlike any forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, instead we're going to be going on a linear side of things, and also not only linear, but we're going onto the corresponding order this time around though, so... You know, like, we're going through boss fights between King Dedede all the way to Dark Nimbula, which even then though that, I will say though is that much like it does any forms of any other Kirby games, well, the only exception being Kirby Superstar and the forms of, Kirby Streamland 3, this is entirely optional. If you want to able to accept this challenge, then by all means you can able to do just as that, so... Anyways though, if we approach all the way over there, we actually come in towards the forms of the Triple Star, which just like in the forms of the Master Sword, from the forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, you can just simply take your Triple Star anytime in any single level, which I think is actually kind of cool looking. And by the way, we actually got ourselves a maximum tomato from the start though. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm pretty sure of how the fact that, in comparison to how it does in the forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, you can just simply only just able to actually save up for, 4 maximum tomatoes before you deal with these next couple of bosses up ahead. But, in fact, the matter is though, is the fact that in Boss Endurance in this game this time around though, you only have to take only one of them. So even then though, that just makes it a little bit more tricky aside from that, but even then though, yeah, you can definitely, get the idea with that solution there, so... But anyways, yeah, you can able to actually whack out as many, boss encounters with the forms of the Triple Star, which I think is actually very, very cool looking, because even then though, well, sure, it doesn't do that much in terms of how it usually attacks that well enough, but hey, aside from that though, you can able to actually beat these bosses no matter what though. So anyways though, let's move on to Mecha Krako, I should say. Now, I don't know if I was able to do my best to actually just try to defeat as many bosses as possible, but we'll see what happens there. We'll see what... Okay. Whoops. Okay, I'll meet you guys back at the, that specific boss again. Alright, so, before warning for this point, folks, do not use a Triple Star on this, Mecha Krako boss fight, because, well... To make matters even worse than that, with the forms of the Triple Star on this particular boss fight in general, is because, well, it actually demolishes the cloud platforms, just like in the forms of fire in general. So, yeah, best to not use it, because even then, though, that, well, you instantly die there. So, yeah, this might be my second attempt. In fact, this might actually be the first ever Kirby Let's Plays that we've ever done. To able to actually just go ahead and deal with this particular boss endurance for a second attempt, unlike any forms of just one attempt only from the previous Let's Plays, as far as I'm aware for that. So anyways, I'm probably not gonna do my best to able to actually just go ahead and deal with the boss endurance with a one single run through, because even then, that much like how it does it from previously. I'm also able to actually get a game over and stuff like that as soon as we actually move on to the later boss fights. Mainly Darude most likely, because Darude is by far one of the more tougher boss fights in the entirety of the game, in addition to Dark Darude as well, because even though that Dark Darude managed to able to actually just, well, try to wipe the floor out of you, which even then I will admit though right away, that's somewhat of more of a challenge. But anyways though. So anyways though, I should probably point things out right away is that today was actually forms of the 26th of July, so that means happy 5-year anniversary, well, to be more specifically, the physical version of New Super Luigi U, that it's been out for 5 years and stuff like that. well, at least to be more specifically, the downloadable version during it almost not too while ago, and also by the forms of the physical version right about now, for the forms of, well, the UK version most likely, because even now, I can't believe these days are going way too fast than it should be. So anyways though, but again, all you have to do is like one attempt while doing this boss endurance run through, because again, if you manage to run out of health, then you pretty much get kicked out of the boss endurance. Even though that, again, it's not my kind of thing. Well, until before we get to the forms of Kirby Superstar Ultra and onwards, but the forms of, you know, Kirby's Adventure Wii, or Kirby's Return to Dreamland, or Kirby Triple Deluxe, Kirby Planet Robobots, Kirby Star Allies, then we should be able to actually just go ahead and deal with the mandatory modes by the forms of boss battles departments. Even though that should be well expected as far as we're able to notice things like this, so yeah, that's what I got by the forms of boss endurance. Although I will admit though right away, it's the fact that most of these bosses in the forms of the boss endurance mode can get a little bit difficult this time around though, because of how the fact that, they're going to be bringing us to ourselves, well, regular enemies as far as I'm aware for that, in the forms of this particular boss right there, so yeah, you get the idea with that specific solution right there, but honestly, there's not much else I can really say about this, other than being like, the only boss fight I've actually managed to able to spoil alerts with those of you actually haven't missed that part already. The only boss fight I've actually got into at this point is that, just like in the forms of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, the only point I've actually died on is the forms of Meta Knights, because even then, you know the Darude, as far as I've mentioned this before, although granted I don't find Meta Knight to be all that challenging to be honest with you guys, but it's just how the fact that with Darude, that you have to deal with Darude before you're able to deal with the forms of Meta Knight, and also by the forms of Dark Darude and Dark Nimbula as well. So, if that's the point, then Darude might actually kick my butt in any sort of noticing, so anyways, let's replace Bomb right there, and hopefully we might as well deal with him here. So, because yeah, for starters though, with the forms of Darude and the forms of boss endurance mode, is that first of all, you're in completely in ice physics most of the time, which even then though, that's the only thing I really appreciated if I didn't do the slippery momentum there game. Especially noticeable in comparison to the likes of how it does in Peppermint Powers from Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. So, yeah, this is the only maximum tomato I can able to use at that time. So, anyways though, as you can see there, I've managed to able to stomach cross into the forms of the flammable shield, or flammable sword, which even then though, not only does he actually, or the fire sword is what it says on the forms of the Kirby ability standpoint, which by the way, you can actually able to actually melt ice with it though, not to mention with all fire elemental stuff, and also by the forms about the fact that, yeah, that's as far as I can usually say about this for the most part though, so yeah, I can't believe Darude himself is going to be a lot more difficult, because even though he constantly teleporting all over the place sometimes, and also now how the fact that it's really hard to predict by the forms of whenever he's doing the ice beam attack and stuff like that for that nature, you could expect it how the fact that it's really unpredictable to be able to actually know to see what he's coming or not, which even though that can a little bit more some conception, so. But anyways though, so even though we've already got quite a few things left to showcase off by the forms of, well, obviously we're actually on the middle portion of the forms of the boss endurance mode at the moment, which at the moment are doing really bad by the forms of Darude himself, because again, he's way too difficult to react to in time, and plus, not to mention that right now we actually are on a Meta Knight boss fight, which I think this is the only point we actually died on, because well, not only that, because of how the fact that you have to do is like one single run through at this. I'm pretty sure you can able to actually just to choose whatever you want to go to, which I think it might be the case though, but it's just how the fact the matter is though, is the fact that I'm pretty sure you only have like one healing item with you at all times, but I don't know about you, but I'm pretty suck at the boss endurance sometimes, because even I know, yeah, that was really close there, so yeah, it looks like I might as well able to lose this, because yeah, I accidentally ran into Meta Knight so easily. So, you don't get anything rewarding after doing so, other than being a congratulations screen, much like how it does in previously. But it's just it's not my kind of thing though, unlike when we get into the future games, by the forms of Kirby Superstar Ultra and etc., then we should able to actually get something rewarding afterwards. So, anyways though, before we get into the actual final point of the actual extra stuff how this game offers, let's get into the extra mode, because even then, out of all the modes we're going to be run into, extra mode is just simply we're actually going to be going through the entirety of the game again, but this time move quickly and collect all the treasure chests. So it's basically kind of like the ones in Meta Nightmare, in the forms of Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, and also by the forms of extra mode in Kirby's Adventure of all things. Well, to be more specifically, Meta Nightmare in the forms of Nightmare in Dreamland is the fact that, first of all, you go do the entire game again, but this time around though, you do have a time attack system where you can able to actually see the timer is actually going to be counting up. So even then though, that if you want to able to actually just go ahead and beat your time record for that, mind you, it's entirely up to you. Which, even then though, of all the modes we're going to be running into, I'm probably not going to complete this mode, because even then though, it's just basically the exact same thing as how it does in the regular gameplay, or the regular story mode, except you do have a time system. So even then though, and also what I found is kind of odd though, as well, is the fact that you can able to start the game off with 0 lives. So even then though, you need to able to actually grind for farming with the forms of extra lives departments. So even then though, that's something worth mentioning for this point and onwards. So speaking of which, I've got one right there. So yeah, and every time you complete one of those stages, as far as you already know something like this, it tells you what stage time that you've got, and even the total time you've got, and also how much treasures that you've got remaining. Like, you know, if there are 120 of them in total, just like in the forms of these regular power stars, in the forms of Super Mario 64, and Shine Sprites from Super Mario Sunshine, the fact of the matter is though, is the fact that you can able to actually keep those into your collection sake. So even then though, that again, I'm probably not going to go for this run through on this extra mode of the game, because it's, as far as you expect it plays exactly like the same game, except, well, it's all time based. So even then though, that again, that if you want to able to actually just go ahead and also you can able to do an optional 100% run through of the game, which you can do it as well, but it's just not my kind of thing for that also. So even then though, I probably should able to pass this mode. So even then though, although it's kind of cool at first, so you can able to actually replay the game again for a second time in a row, but even then though, it's kind of a little bit more controversy as far as I'm aware for that. So, but of course you do need to able to grab those items all over again if you want to do a time attack mode, but it's not my kind of thing. But the only reward you can get if you manage to complete extra mode is just simply you get yourselves a 100% completion run through completed. So that's the only reward you can get by the forms of the extra mode itself. So anyways, that does it out of the way. Now let's move on to the 2 final abilities of the game, where I did probably going to be showing off, but even then, I might as well show off just 2 of them. So, and just like in the forms of any other Kirby games, my life stalking is now reset to 2. So even then, nothing too surprising around here, until when we get to Kirby's Return to Dreamland, and even in future Kirby games and onwards, that our lives count will be up to 7 at this point. So that should be a lot more, so even then, yeah. So as you can see, we got ourselves the Ghost ability, which I'll show off after this, because even then, technically we've already shown you guys by the forms of the triple star from earlier ago, especially noticeable by the forms of the final boss in the game, and also by the forms that we actually used that for quite a bit. In the forms you can actually use that in not only levels themselves, but also in boss fights here and there as well. So even then though, it's kind of like the ones in the forms of the Master Sword from Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, except the fact that you can, what's unique about the triple star though is the fact that, I haven't really explained about the forms of the actual triple star itself, didn't I? Basically, you get yourselves these 3 star projectiles surrounding the entirety of the staff, and then you can able to use those for their certain advantages, like the forms of summoning them as the projectiles, kind of like the ones where Darude actually performs that from earlier ago. Even especially noticeable with Dark Darude as well, so even then know that again, that is so unique how that specific stuff actually works. So even then though, yeah. Unfortunately, you could not defend yourself with this though, because there were a few times though that you might ended up, you know, getting hit most of the time. So even though that's something is worth mentioning for that part. So anyways, so let's beat the likes of Meta Knights with the forms of the triple star. Oh yeah. Because yeah, unlike the ones in the forms of the Star Rods, what I could appreciate if I was trying to able to use a Star Rods in any single boss fights and all that stuff, but it just makes it a little bit more of a game breaking or something like that for that nature. So Anyways, though, that's the triple star works. There's not much else to really say about this. So, and let's just go ahead and showcase off the final Kirby ability in the game, the Ghost Kirby. So this is kind of familiar, because you're normally able to actually obtain Ghost Kirby, but in forms of there was actually an hidden enemy in this game, but in forms of the ghost medals that we've got from the forms of the entirety of the adventure. The ghost's name was actually forms of Ted Lim, or Ted Lim. That, if you managed to able to defeat the secret boss, then you would able to actually obtain the ghost ability, which even then, this is how the ghost Kirby actually, plays out. Basically, you can able to actually possess enemies, which this is before when Kirby Star Allies exist. How the fact of the matter is though, because this game came out in 2006, and until 12 years later, Kirby Star Allies has been firstly released on the Nintendo Switch at that time, that technically speaking, and also the same applies to how it does in Kirby Superstar Ultra from Helper to Hero mode, you can actually take control of enemies. So even then though, you can able to actually use their specific abilities, like the forms of the ninja ability, can able to actually use these little spear projectiles, and also bodies all these kinds of attacks, and also just somewhat camouflage himself. But even then though, that's pretty cool looking. But the only downside by the forms of Ghost Kirby is that, as you can see, I'm actually on level 1 secret level, is the fact that obviously that Ghost Kirby can able to actually go any sort of directions worth noting for. That there's only one exception by the fact that he cannot climb down ladders, or even just climb down. So even then though, kind of lame, but even then though, it's a pretty cool looking ability as far as I'm aware though, by the forms of possessing those enemies as far as I'm aware for that. So yeah, it's pretty cool, but even then though, that is kind of okay. So anyways, that's all I could really think about with the extra stuff of how this game offers to be. So even then though, that's you know, that's what I can really think about. So yeah, this is me, Mario, from the likes of the Maxi Toys. And then tune in next time by the forms of, oh by the way, before we discuss upon that, thank you guys so much for watching in the forms of this particular Let's Play of Kirby Mouse Attack / Kirby Squeed Squad for the Nintendo DS. And I hope you guys do enjoy it, and I really do so for myself as well. So yeah, this is me, Mario, from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, and until then, I will see you guys until next month for the big marathon coming up in during the likes of 6 days, for now anyway. That's the forms of the Mega Man marathon, because even then I'm really looking forward to be able to actually go for these Mega Man games. So anyways, enough about that, and tune us next time by the forms of the Kirby series of marathon Let's Plays. That again, I'll probably stress that enough again. We're probably not going to be doing Kirby Superstar Ultra just yet until 2019, because, well, I just don't got enough time for that yet. So until then, next Kirby game we're going to be tackling through for the Let's Play department is the forms of Kirby's Epic Yarn for the Nintendo Wii. So things can get a little bit interesting for that game right there. So, but it wasn't until when we get to September though, so it might be a little bit of a delay there. So yeah, see you guys then. Bye.